Hello, my name is Michalis Eleftheriou. I'm the activist that uploaded a message for Turkish activists a few days ago. Since the message, which actually was more of an idea to get just some general dialogue going between Egyptian activists and Turkish activists and other activists around the world which are participating in what is essentially a global movement. The video was for this. I really didn't expect the video to have so many views. I just got sent a link with 25,000 views on it. There's thousands of shares on Facebook, and I'm getting hundreds and hundreds of messages. And I was insisting with myself last night that I would answer every message, because I really do not like to not answer people. But it's impossible. Every time I reply to a message, I have another 2 or 3. It's really impossible, so I have to apologize. I cannot reply to them all, but I've read everyone, definitely, and the ones that are coming, I'm reading them all, but I have to apologize, I can't reply to them. There's 2 types of messages I'm getting. Some are just full of thanks and love, and others are full of questions. I want to talk about both. To be honest, I was passing through a time of little hope. It's been years now since this movement started, and it's very difficult, and I think many activists around the world can identify with feeling at times that we don't have the energy, or the hope starts to go and the doubts come, and then another country wakes up, and this time Turkey with courage and creativity and multitude and insistence, and it really gave, I think, to all of us a lot of strength to carry on resisting and fighting. Also, it made me think a lot about our generation that can sit in front of a camera and look at the screen, which is this abstract thing, and be bombarded by messages and love. Here we are in these authoritarian structures, whether they are obviously authoritarian or whether they are trying to hide it, convincing us, that humans are bad and that we need these structures to hold together our societies. And here we are in this moment with these same structures that we pay for, that we form, killing us on the street in our darkest moments, when we are prepared for any level of violence, and all we want to do is to love each other. I cannot believe the messages of love I got for such a simple gesture, like to send a video message and to be concerned for people. So thank you. It was a wonderful prize or reward for such a small thing that I did, for you guys to give me this hope back. So thanks. I want to talk about the other type of messages as well. I got a lot of messages asking me many questions. I'm not an expert at making revolutions. There are no experts at making revolutions. Every situation is very different. So there are many questions I cannot answer, or I'm not the best person to answer. What I can do is to share my experience, as I did, and some of my thoughts. It's been a long time that I'm thinking about this. One of the biggest questions I'm getting is, what should we do? What should we do? We're all on the streets now, and what should we do? There's an expression, an African expression, that is, a storm cannot uproot a forest. A storm cannot uproot an entire forest. And since Egypt, I've been asking myself, are we the storm or are we the forest? And at the moment, with the storm, the forest is patient. The forest is patient. The forest is the power structure at B, which in one form or another is pretty much the same power structure that we've had throughout civilization, with some occasional deviances. And they're very patient. They don't mind waiting a couple of years or even a generation to allow a people to believe that they have won a revolution, that they have won rights. They might wait a whole revolution. They may wait a whole generation before taking those rights away again, as we're seeing now in the US, for example. The forest is no longer a forest when you divide the forest into little bits. And the storm can take away many trees that do not form a forest. In Egypt, in Tahrir Square, I remember very well a very serious face, although a little bit cheeky, of an older man, and he had this sign which was saying something like, "Mubarak, you monster, you made us love each other." And it was sarcastic, because after so much effort to divide the society so that a revolution wouldn't happen, suddenly people were loving each other unconditionally in Tahrir Square. They were bringing food, they were bringing tents, they were bringing supplies. They were making symbols, combining the crescent of Islam and the cross of Christianity, combining them together, that there is no division between them. And this is what this man was joking about. "Mubarak, you monster, you made us love each other. Look what you did." 1 year later, like I said in my first video, these same people were killing each other in interracial fights between Muslims and Christians, in endless clashes throughout the city, which were all orchestrated. They were orchestrated deliberately by SCAF, the Supreme Council of Armed Forces, from which are military, and Mubarak was also from the military, and who knows what other power structures. Now, we have a tendency as human beings to divide ourselves. Now, whether this tendency is cultural, whether it's part of our instincts, it's an interesting study, it's an interesting discussion, but it's academic for what our purpose is now. Now we need to understand that we have a tendency to divide ourselves, and they will use this. We will have many differences, although we feel very united right now. There will be endless differences, and it's okay. Whenever we discuss anything, the first thing that we need to do is to discuss what we have in common, what we believe in common. We want integrity, we want dignity, we want to be able to work in a way that does not harm society and harm the planet. This as a base is what we have in common, and it's not a small thing. But they will try very hard for us to focus on the things that divide us, and in this way maintain the power. It's an old trick, and it's time that we are aware of it. And this is, for me, what I most want to talk about, and what most impacted me through my experience in Egypt, to see such a unified society divided. How do we fight that? How do we fight against this division? I believe that the revolution, apart from showing the resistance on the street and our desire to be together and to care for each other, and this force, apart from a physical force of being many people, the revolution has to be here. We have a lot of work to do to unlearn the structures they have put into our minds, what we value in life, the constructions they made of our enemies, how they taught us who our enemies were, how they taught us who we were, of our identity as a nation or a culture, what they taught us about what is valuable in our lives. All of this supports this system which destroys us, which does not respect our lives, and which only values our production. This value system is what supports this current paradigm, a paradigm which rewards aggressiveness, which rewards competitiveness. What we need to do right now, more than anything, what I believe, is to educate ourselves and to educate each other. We have the internet, we have endless amounts of information available to us. We are so distracted that we don't look for it, which is frightening. But during these times, even though we're not thinking about this when we're going on the street to fight for our rights, it's the time where we begin to question. It's the time where we begin to have doubts about the things that we believed and that we took for granted our whole lives. It's the time to educate ourselves and to educate each other. Democracy is an illusion if we do not understand the system in which we live. How can we be expected to vote if we do not understand where money comes from and how money is created? How can we be expected to vote if we do not understand how the media manipulates us? It's an illusion. It's just an illusion that we have democracy, that we are guiding our own destiny. Democracy is not a number. It's not ticking a box and just being from one group or the other group. Democracy is having a real understanding and participation in the world in which you live and the knowledge to make meaningful decisions. And we don't have that. And what's more is when they divide us, they teach us to be defensive so that we don't want to admit that we don't have that. We want to believe that we understand. We want to believe that we know what's going on. Our arrogance and our ego stops us from admitting that maybe we don't really understand. These are all cultural issues, social issues, mental issues, emotional issues. Now, if we want to be the forest and not the storm, this has to become a way of life, to unlearn these things, to question these things, to help each other to do it. I got a message from a lady that was maybe 50 or something like this, and she said to me something like that she felt much pain that her generation did not do what our generation now is doing. We don't want just to go on the street anywhere in the world now and be convinced that we've won a victory and go home and just expect the system to change. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Even we might win some rights like they did in the US, in the social movements in the US, and they might let us have these rights for one generation, and then they might construct enemies for us like they do with the terrorism ideology to take away those rights again. How do we stop that happening? There's one way to stop that happening, and it's to empower each and every one of us here to understand what's going on, to investigate without ego, without arrogance, to not be frustrated when other people don't understand things that you feel like you understand, because maybe you didn't understand them 1 year ago, 2 years ago. With love, knowing that just with logic, forget party ideologies, just with logic, with the technology and the resources we have, we can manage this world in a very, very intelligent way. The problems that we have today are antiquated, they're unnecessary. What does this mean for the Turkish revolution? I think it means patience. I think this is a battle more than a revolution. To think that a revolution is an event is a mistake. It's a process. And with the revolution, the process begins. But each one of us has to take the responsibility to educate ourselves, to unlearn certain things, to learn new things, and to help each other understand these things. These are the way that we will organize ourselves, that we will claim our rights, and that we will maintain them, and that we teach the next generation what we did, how we did it, and what we need to know. In this way, we can begin a course that can really change the history of humanity. Now, we might not manage this before they destroy the planet, so it's important that we enjoy the ride. Let's not forget that. I want to say goodbye with saying please look after each other. I was heartbroken yesterday to read the last message of one of the demonstrators that was killed, saying that he felt exhausted and he was taking energy drinks and painkillers and he was so exhausted and he was going back to fight. Remember, this isn't just about now, and we must be patient. Sleep, eat well, look after yourselves, look after each other. We are less vulnerable if we are healthy, if we are bright. It's not worth dying for any of this. We are much more useful alive. Our passion and our conviction is much more useful if we are alive and if we begin a real journey to connect each other with each other throughout the world, to educate each other, to really take our destinies in our hands, which I believe for the first time in history we have all of the resources for it to happen like never before, and we are that generation, or we would be that generation, and that's got nothing to do with luck. It's all about what we do. Please stay strong, please stay organized, and think in the long term. We want to be the forest, not the storm.